From Atlanta News First Plus, this is Sports Tonight.
What's up, guys? Welcome into Sports Tonight. It's Tuesday. What's the date today?
March
what?
26th.
We are almost through the month
Somehow.
of March. I'm with the beautiful Ellie today. We're going to
Beautiful.
rock and
That's-
roll.
I'm flattered.
I did not know.
I'm flattered.
So, guys, I did not know Ellie was here today. I was thinking I was going to have to do the show by myself. And one of our producers, Jordan, was like, Emily, you're good. You got Ellie here. And I was like, wait, Ellie's here?
Totally
So I
a
was so
professional
excited.
operation. We're not putting this together last minute. What are you talking about?
I know, but you're here. We're here. We're going to do this. And we're going to start off with Georgia basketball. And I know that's kind of a weird topic to start off with.
Oh
only
my God, there
because-
were other sports in Athens besides football? I didn't know that.
Who knew? But we're doing so because they're playing in the quarterfinals of the NIT tonight. They've won 2 in a row. They beat Xavier at home. They beat Wake Forest on the road. Wake Forest, a really good team. They had the best home record in the ACC this past season, yet Georgia was able to beat them Sunday at Wake. So now they're at OSU tonight, at Ohio State in Columbus. Do you want to guess how many times these two have faced off in the past, Ellie? And this is just a random question. I don't expect you to know it, but it is kind of interesting.
5 times?
They faced off once in 1977.
Oh my God.
UGA leads the series 1-0.
I think these two programs have gone in very different directions since 1977.
Isn't that wild? I'm like, the fact that obviously, every sports team keeps records, but I'm like, you really had to dig deep for this one.
Yeah.
December 28th of 1977. Georgia not only won, but they won in overtime. 84 to 80.
Okay.
So let's do that. But it's been a while since these two have seen each other. What's good about Mike White, the head coach, who's only in year 2 at UGA, is that he has seen OSU twice when he was a Gator, and both times he beat the Buckeyes. So I'm kind of liking how I feel right now about Georgia beating OSU simply because of the history, the very small history of the head coach and of UGA. But listen, this is something that we should pay attention to. The Dogs are 28-2 when holding their opponents under 70 points. Under Coach White, that's over 2 seasons. So that's the magic number for me tonight, Ellie. If they can hold the Buckeyes to 70 or less, more than likely they're going to win.
Yeah, although I'm not sure the Bulldogs are really known, at least in basketball, for their particularly stout defense, because holding a basketball team to under 70 points is hard.
No, it's true. It's very, very true. Something else is they're 9-8 in games that are one possession contests in the final 5 minutes. So they play very well, or I should say better than well, if they are ahead in
the
tight
games that give me heart attacks.
That's correct. So that might be another one tonight. But they're on the road at Ohio State tonight. We'll see if they can get a win. But this is I guess, you can tell me your opinion on this, but NIT, I don't want to say who cares, but kind
Underrated.
of like who cares. It's not the NCAA tournament.
Underrated. I know it is not the NCAA tournament, but
Right.
it's underrated. And the NCAA has destroyed the NIT by moving the final away from Madison Square Garden. Put
it
it
used
back.
to be there. Yeah.
Put it back. Why is it in Indianapolis this year? We just had this with the NBA All-Star Game.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to anybody watching with any connections to Indianapolis. But,
And when Georgia Tech a few years back, when their former head coach was there, and I'm forgetting his name right now, but they played in the final, the NIT final, and it was still at MSG. And it still had that je ne sais quoi about it.
yeah.
Indianapolis, I guess.
Because if you're in college basketball, you're not in the Big East. What other chance are you going to get to play at MSG?
That's right. It is a great experience for players. But with that being said, though, this is still a good experience for UGA because let's be honest, they didn't have the best season. They ended the year with a winning record, but
Postseason play is postseason play.
it's important. It's important to have this experience will carry over to next year, other than for the seniors. But for the seniors that we've heard from Georgia, they're like, this is another opportunity for us to wear the uniform, right, before we have to leave and maybe never play basketball again. So all around, I think Coach White's pretty happy with the fact that they've made it to the third round quarterfinals. I'm sure they're eyeing to move on to the next, but so now they've won 2 in a row, and we'll see if they can make it 3 starting at 7 o'clock. Moving on to staying with the same school.
To the sport that everyone actually cares about.
Yes. Georgia football, their spring game is happening in just over 2 weeks, April 15th, 1 o'clock from Sanford Stadium. They practice today. They get 15 total practices during the spring, including that game. So today was a practice despite the rain. Kirby obviously spoke to the media, addressed us before practice, and he talked about the transfer portal, which is something he has to talk about quite often. And he's accepted the fact that kids are going to transfer in, transfer out. That's just a part of college football now. The landscape has changed, and it probably will continue to change. I don't know your thoughts on that, but
I mean, it's part of the reason why Saban probably left is, we're in the middle of a time of massive change in college sports, and I think the transfer portal is only one part of that, and you just have to accept it at this point. The cat's out of the bag.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. Another thing that Saban and probably other coaches continue to struggle with and will continue to struggle with is paying players. The amounts of money that are having to be raised and the amounts of money that are going through to players. NIL I'm cool with. I've said it a million times. If you're a business, if I own a Mercedes somewhere in the country and you're a star player, Ellie, and I want to pay you $1 million and rent you a Mercedes for the rest of your time in whatever city you're in because you are a baller quarterback, then I'm going to pay you and I'm going to give you that Mercedes. You can give it back to me. It's like a lease, and then you can take that money and do whatever you want with it. That's what NIL was intended to do. It wasn't intended for these collectives. These universities have to have these collectives and raise all this money, and that's the strain on the coaches and on that nobody wants to talk about. And that's not what it was intended to do. It was intended for that first purpose that I was talking about, where like in the Olympics, like how do those athletes make money? Well, it's by their sponsors, the sponsorships, Nike, whatever they have. They wanted college athletes to be able to do the same, which is great. Make that money. But where there's, an issue in my eyes is the fact that it's gone one step further with universities having to do it legally. What's that?
It's straight up pay to play now.
Yeah, and at what point are we going to start saying that these players are professionals? Because they're not. We're going to have to rethink all of it, and eventually we're going to get there. It's still very much in the infancy stages. It's the wild, wild west. Eventually, I think every team or teams will have caps. There's money's going to run out eventually, especially for those collectives, and that's where the athletes are making the most money is from those collectives, not from the Mercedes dealership.
Yep.
So, in my opinion, boosters and whoever, eventually they're going to be like, hey, I can't give it to you anymore. You've taken all of it. And a new conversation will have to, come about with, I don't know. It's so weird that the NCAA, the one entity, organization that has stopped so many athletes and taken things away from schools for different reasons is so quiet all of a sudden.
Because to me at least, they're toothless here. Well, it's
beyond them, right? Because it's
all the power
law.
is out of their control.
Yeah, but it's still wild. But anyways, I have gone a little further than I should have. Let's hear from Kirby Smart from earlier today before their spring practice for the day.
Kirby, is this a situation where you have to let the legal situation play itself out before you decide on any discipline going forward, or is that already been determined?
Some of both. Some of it has to play itself out. We're still gathering information in terms of the report and things, but some things we know already. As usual, like I said, the university discipline is going to take its course, as well as what he has to have consequences for his actions from the team. So both those things will play out as we gather more information.
Yeah, Coach, I'm curious, during your time here, have you ever seen, like, during spring practice, a player, it just seems like it clicks or he has a tremendous spring, and then that rolls over into his performance in the fall? And if you have, if there's been anybody that might be on that track this spring?
Man, it's hard to say. It's like on a continuum. I wish there was somebody I could think of. I thought Carson had a really good spring last year because he, took more of the ones reps than he ever had, and then he had a really good fall. But I fully expected that to happen with him. Dylan Bell last year had a really good spring, and thought he had a good season. A couple of the young linebackers we've had where they had good springs and then jump forward to that. I mean, there's a lot of guys I think having good springs out there right now, but only time will tell whether that turns into a great fall.
Hey, Kirby, we get a chance to talk to Ja'Cory Thomas for the first time today, and wanted to ask you how he's been able to go at it this spring and where he's at kind of in that, safety competition, because I know you guys are going to have one opposite of Malachi.
Yeah, you guys are going to have a couple guys today that you haven't had as much. I'm trying to get some more faces out there. We're such a young team. So I asked that y'all go easy on Ja'Cory and Julio. They're probably scared to death to come talk to you guys. But he's a great kid. He's we recruited him as a size and speed player. I mean, he has really good size. He has good speed. He's fun to coach. He is a great kid. He had a first year, he played a lot of nickel star in high school, more like a Sam linebacker, walk out in space. We taught him his freshman year really how to play safety. That was new for him. Last year, I felt like he got to the point that he could really understand the defense, know it, react. When you've never seen things from 10 yards and you've only played them from 2 to 3 yards, it's a big change in visual backing up. Well, he's gotten that pretty good. He's now working some at Star with Jonell as well. So I feel like he's had a good spring thus far in terms of picking things up. He's competing at 2 positions. So he's a dual train guy, probably getting more mental reps at Star since he hasn't played that, and while also getting reps at safety. And I'm excited to kind of see him in his first scrimmage this Saturday.
Yeah, to ask about another guy, Julian Humphreys, a guy who worked his way into the rotation going through last year's. How have you seen him progress over the past year or so, and where is he in that corner battle? How is he assuming the role as one of the veterans there at corner now?
Yeah, well, if everybody understands Kamari's situation last year, Kamari could only practice, I would say, 30-40% of the practices during the season. So there was a lot of available reps for Julio, for Julian. He did a great job. He worked hard. He picked things up. He had to increase his toughness. He's always been able to run. He's always been able to cover, but his issues came from knowing exactly what to do when people motion, things change, and I thought last year he did a great job of that. He picked all that up. He played really big in our Missouri game and covered people well, had kind of a breakout game there, and then he had the unfortunate injury against Ole Miss. So he's had a good spring practice so far. I hope that continues. He's hungry. They got good competition going on at corner. We don't look at it as 2 corners. I mean, we look at it as if there's 4 corners that can play, one of them is going to also play star, and they'll all play. And the more winning football players we can have at corner, the better off our team can be.
Yeah, part of the discussion around Julio was also him announcing that he was going to enter the transfer portal and ultimately ends up staying here. What did that process of getting him to stay here look like? And in this day and age, how prevalent is that? How often does that have to happen when you have multi-year guys and convincing them to try and stay in the program?
Well, I think kids get confused. I think kids, a lot of times, we try to communicate really well with our kids, be upfront with our kids. But look, it's the nature of the beast. They turn on their phone and they see other people doing it. It becomes a trend. It's like anything else in social media. If he's doing it, then shouldn't I be doing it? Isn't the grass greener on the other side? And sometimes they don't know. Sometimes they're getting reached out to by other places, and maybe they shouldn't be. But that's just the nature of the beast, and ultimately he's here. That's the only thing I'm concerned with, and I don't think that's a story that he was thinking of going in and going back. That's just the day and age we live in. The most important thing is he chose to be here and compete, and he's got a great family. They've sacrificed a lot for Julio to be in the position he's in, and they support their son, and they want him here because they know how we coach, and the thing I like about Julio's parents, they appreciate the toughness that we coach him with.
question is about what can you tell us about Daniel Harris and Janelle Aguero? We haven't seen a whole lot of them. Can you give us some, pros and cons? Tell us a little bit more about them. But something you just mentioned about the portal, maybe people reaching out to him. How prevalent is tampering right now?
I don't know. I don't have a phone tap on anybody's phone. I don't have a wire. I'm not the feds, so I don't know. I can only tell you that when kids come in to see me, they have a plan. So they either did some pre-planning or something occurred, but it's really almost impossible to navigate or monitor or police. And I'll be honest with you, I don't get real lost over it, because the kids that stay will be the ones we coach, and the kids that go will have to provide an opportunity for somebody else, and that's really the way I look at it. We try to do the best job we can of being honest with our kids and sell what our program has done in the past. I tell the story millions of times of everybody's past different. And when you get on your phone and you hit maps and you go and put an address in, it shows you 6 different ways to get there. And everybody's path is different. And Coy Walker's was very different than Kobe Dean. So each one is self, but to each his own. But Daniel and Jonelle are doing a good job. They're both, again, second-year players. It used to be, it was really hard to play your first year. Your second year was kind of your year to, start getting in the rotation, maybe the 2 deep, maybe special teams. Both of those guys were able to play some last year through opportunities afforded a lead. We got to get them in. They're both good athletes. They both sometimes have poor eye control, don't look at the right things. But Jonelle's very physical, is an explosive football player. Daniel's very fast and long. So sky's the limit, but they're not to the sky. So they got to keep improving. And I'm excited about where they are. They're really good football players. If they want to stay here at Georgia and continue to get better and grow and play, they have bright futures in front of them. And each one of them is exciting players.
Kirby, this is pretty old news, 6 days old. We haven't talked to you since the 2025 scheduling came out. I wanted to ask you, in lieu of some of the conversations at the spring meetings, I know you've been in favor of some of the different models and you want players to see different opponents over the course of their 4 years. Were you a little surprised, and I guess just your reaction to them flipping the schedule rather than maybe going in the direction of the schedule rotation that we've heard so much talk about?
I don't know what alternative schedule you're referencing that we have heard talked about. Yeah, no, I'm not surprised, because if they start doing that, then there's somebody's not going to get the ball into the deal. Me personally, I just got one of the toughest road schedules in the country. I'd like to see it flipped, where I got the opportunity for our fan base to have probably the best home schedule ever in Georgia history. So you start changing the model, I don't get the flip of the model. And they presented us multitude of opportunities. The most continuity is in doing this for 2. Let's see what it's like. Let's see how things play out. Let's see what the CFP becomes. How many teams are going to be in the playoff? Does that designate us to go to 9? Does television have something to do with that? There's a lot of unanswered questions, and to have a little bit of just continuity and know what you're going to get, I'm completely fine with that.
Kirby, when KJ Bolden was committed elsewhere, how did you approach recruiting him, with not giving up, and how is he and Ellis Robinson doing, in their first springs?
Yeah, their first spring players. They're talented players. Everything they were advertised to be in terms of being good football players, instinctive. They both learn well. They both have toughness. I think both of them will contribute on special teams because they can run, hit, tackle. I'm excited about those guys. The expectation of the outside world is that they're going to set the place on fire. We have good football players here. They're going to go compete with those guys and hopefully earn some ability to play and playing time. But as far as KJ's recruitment, I don't see kids as committed to other places, because they're not signed. There's no we recruit good football players. We evaluate every player the same, whether they're committed or not. And if there's interest from them and there's conversation from them and there's visits where they come to your campus, then you just be very consistent. And we were very consistent with KJ. The recruitment never stopped. And I told him that from the day he committed to the day that he came to us. We were not going to stop recruiting because we think he's a great kid from a great family and a really, really good football player. So he and Ellis have a chance to make us much better in the day and age of college football, where you better have depth and you better have players when guys leave. These guys are going to get opportunities to play.
Yeah, I'll ask you about another freshman, Joseph Johnny. His size really stands out. How do you see his sort of development playing out because of that size and unique ability?
Well, I don't know how his development plays out. I think that would be remiss to me to sit here and tell you I know what this guy's going to.
All right, Kirby Smart, before spring practice today, 2.5 weeks away from G-Day, kicking off at 1 on April, is it 13th? What did I say earlier? Yep, April 13th. That was a Saturday. And it is Masters Week that week. I can't think of anything else going on. That week is like wild because Alabama is also holding their spring game later that day. So you got UGA, you got Alabama, you got the Masters, the third round of the Masters going on. So if you're bored or if you miss sports, that's your week for sure. All right, not to mention the Braves will be playing, okay? It'll be like the third week of the season by that point. They're opening
on Thursday in Philadelphia.
Yep, where they left off. So they're opening up where they left off. Same pitcher from the last time they played is starting. I mean, it's like deja vu all over again, except they're hoping for a win, okay?
Yep.
They're hoping for a win from Philly on Thursday. Spencer Strider on the bump, but their home opener is not till 9 days from now. They open up at home against the Diamondbacks on April
5th.
Yep, that's a Friday. So if you're wanting to go to Truist Park, you're going to have to wait about, exactly 9 days, so a week and a half until you can do that. But there are new additions, upgrades to the park. Ellie, I don't know if you have any opinions, but some of the boxes are bigger, better. And they do this every year, right? They want to make the fan experience better. I think the fan experience, and I'm not a homer, okay, but the fan experience at Truist Park is already fantastic.
I've been to a good number of the MLB ballparks for games, and again, not a homer. I'm from Chicago. I'm not from here. I did not grow up a Braves fan. I love the experience at Truist Park.
Yeah.
I really do.
They do a great job. There's new food items. Then again, this happens
According
every
to
year.
our sports director, Bailey Burmaster, the Braves chef says they are bringing out a chicken sandwich that is even better than Chick-fil-A's, which is a bold claim to make.
Well, now I'm trying to think, is Chick-fil-A located in that ballpark? I think you can buy sandwiches.
I believe there is a Chick-fil-A at Truist Park.
Come on, man. Know your audience. But that's interesting because what if it is?
What if it is
better? That's very, very interesting. Yeah, every year, like the specialty foods, you've got the big queso. That's 1 pound of grilled marinated chicken with Chihuahua cheese, freshly chopped salsa and cilantro, pressed between sourdough bread, grilled golden brown, and topped with spicy queso sauce. I mean, come on, but
Give me it.
there's so much. I'm assuming maybe it's Uncle Charlie's Chicken, a curveball on a Braves country favorite, hand-breaded deep-fried chicken breast dipped in spicy sauce, topped with bread and butter pickles, served on a hearty pretzel bun.
I want it.
I mean, I can go on and on about.
I know I'm going to at least one game, sort of that opening weekend, week,
Yeah.
April 8th, 9th.
Yeah.
I'm going to be spending way too much on food.
That's all right. Pork belly grilled cheese. That sounds
need
yummy,
all
right?
of this.
Ribeye steak
I need all of
sandwich.
it.
French toast hot honey chicken sandwich. There's some sushi if you want it.
Oh my
There's
God.
pork wings. I mean, we've got ahi tuna nachos. So, and there's an Italian sub. It's 3 feet long. Listen, guys, they don't disappoint. The Braves come through every year. So you'll have to wait 9 days to test out any of the stuff, but the ballpark will look a little different. The team won't. I don't think the team has some new additions, right? But I think it'll still look pretty or fairly similar to last year, with the exception of like Chris Sale in that rotation. And
look, Adam Duvall and Jesse Chavez are back.
yeah, I mean, it's like old faces coming back, so you don't even have to get to know who those guys are. It was funny because I called Jesse Chavez like a fan favorite, and when he signed yesterday to a minor league deal, which could, he could be brought up or whatever, I thought it was so funny because I'm like, how fitting is this?
Yes.
But what's funny about that too is that Morton,
Charlie Morton.
he is, I think,
Oldest man in baseball.
so I think he's the third oldest, but Chavez was right above him.
Yes.
So now it's like Morton's like, man, why are you back in the South House? I was the oldest man in here. Not only that, but third oldest in all of baseball, right behind you, and now you're back in my clubhouse. So the two old men, the two G-Paws of MLB are in the same organization. So that's pretty funny, but super cool to have him, and we'll see if he'll be able to get the call up. I don't know at this point if he cares or not. Maybe it's just about playing and whatever. But
all right, let's talk about this 30-point comeback by the Hawks last night.
They've never done it before in the history of the history.
Biggest comeback in franchise history, according to ESPN.
I think they've never even come back from 27 points before. I think that was a threshold.
According to ESPN, over the last 25 years, teams trailing by at least 30 points at any point in the game were 5 and 2,606 coming in Monday's game.
Are they one of the 5?
They are now 6. They are now the 6th win.
And 2,000 and what? Like almost 3,000?
2,606 losses. That's pretty rare company.
That's unbelievable. And it's funny because our photographer, Lee Smith, and by no means is this a knock on him, but he was at the game. And, he was covering it for us, and he called. He's like, Emily, they're down like 26, I think, when he called. He's like, I'm coming back. And that's nothing unusual, guys. Like, that's not like he was like throwing in the towel or anything.
We know.
But he's like, hey, I'm coming back. There's just no way. And
then there was a way. They found a way.
Yeah, they did find a way. But I accepted that because, this Hawks team has had some real struggles this season.
They did it without Trey.
They did. So they came back from 30 down, biggest comeback in franchise history. That place was like, for the people who actually did stick around, it was like wild in there. I will say, let's give the people an update real quick on Trae Young. It's been a month since he had that surgery on his finger. He had his 1-month follow-up evaluation. He's making progress in his recovery. The next step of his rehab is introducing small finger motion exercises. So that's going to start this week. He's actually going to start moving his fingers around, or that one finger, I should say. His status is going to be updated later. Before we let you go, I have a question for you, Eliantre. Do you think we'll see him in a Hawks uniform again this season?
This season? I don't think so.
I think there are 10 games left, or 11 max.
I don't think so.
No?
All right, real quick, what's on your mind?
Shout out to the Skyhawks. Their game tonight sold out. This is the most sellouts they've had in the history of the G League club. So that's pretty cool for them. That game will be airing here shortly. So congratulations to them. I mean, that's, sometimes it's hard to get people in seats, and they're doing it. The Skyhawks, they're giving a good experience to the fans, and they're showing up. Anything for you?
This thing.
What's this thing? Oh.
A 16-ounce milkshake that will be at White Sox Park this season. Every team, every year, does something new.
Yep.
And that
this is your team, right?
no longer. They fired Jason Benet, no. But yeah, I need that in my life when I go back up to Chicago to visit family.
Will that milkshake bring all the boys to the yard? I'm just wondering.
Oh.
I mean, that was too easy, right?
All right, we gotta get out of here. For Emily Gang, I'm Ellie Parker, trying not to lose her mind at this one's jokes.
Have a good night.